Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
Cheers. You are now watching Create a Steady Hustle with Liquid Cash.
Cheers, what it is and what it ain't. It's yours truly, Liquid Cash. I need it all out the stash, AKA Money Making Mitch. Hide ya. Yeah, I know the rest. Listen, I'm on the beautiful beaches of the Bahamas, AKA Pirate City. Hey man, it don't get no better than this. We're gonna definitely do a book of the month reading on the beautiful beaches. And you know, I just figured I'd share this experience with y'all, man. You dig? And while I'm out here, I get as much footage as I can. You know, for some reason, I can't just go on vacation and just relax. I have to work. That's just what it is. That's just how I get down. I just gotta work. I'm a workaholic. I'm addicted to working. That's just it. I'm addicted to working. I don't know how to just chill and relax. I do when I go to the spa, and I did go to the spa, and I had the most amazing massage that I've ever had in my life. It was a deep tissue massage with the hot stones. Hey, listen, man, one of a kind, man. You dig? So I recommend y'all get massages at least once a month, minimum once a month. If you can't do it twice a month, minimum once a month, get you a deep tissue massage with the hot stones. Pay a little $20 to $30 extra, get the hot stones. You won't regret it. And if y'all can't hear me that well because of the wind blowing, forgive me, but you know, we working with what we got. You dig? I got these Rode lavalier mics, and you know, they doing their best they could. And I'm shooting this by myself, of course. Y'all know, I get it done. I don't make excuses, I get it done. You know what I mean? I don't need a big camera team to get it done. I'm on vacation by myself, having a wonderful time. So I figure, you know, I give y'all some content. And I also do a book of the month reading. And I didn't prepare this at all. So, of course, we're reading from See You at the Top, Zig Ziglar. See You at the Top, author Zig Ziglar. One of my favorites, one of the best motivational speakers that ever existed. And I recommend y'all check him out. And if you don't have this book, you need to get it. Also, join my Mindset Mogul Book Club. We talking about so much. There's a lot of information that y'all are missing. And we going over certain books. And it's gonna be fun, man. I'm gonna have a lot of books that we're gonna go over and we're gonna read and we're gonna get some knowledge and information from. And like I said again, this wasn't planned. So I'm just gonna go through the book and pick a page. And I'm going to expand on the actual paragraph that I decided to read. And I was reading last night before I went to bed. I didn't have a lot of time to read last night, but I try to read, even if it's for 30 seconds, 20 seconds, I try to read something because, you know, all leaders are readers and all readers become leaders. So I'm constantly reading. Even if I don't have the time, I find the time. You dig? I don't make excuses, I get it done. That's just how I get down. Even if it's just 20 seconds or 10 seconds, it don't matter. I'm gonna get it done. And I highlighted a few things that I read last night. And like I said again, this wasn't planned, so I'm just gonna go through it. I'm gonna read this particular paragraph that I saw last night that it was interesting to me. I highlighted, so it was obviously interesting. He said, this is on page 265, Habits and Attitude. He said, not only do we acquire the characteristics of the people we associate with on a steady basis, but we also become immune and desensitized to the noise and the odors of our environment. People who live in a paper mill town or close to a fertilizer plant grow so accustomed to the odor, they never noticed them until someone else pointed them out. As a teenager during World War II, I lived just 10 miles from the oil field, and the trains came by in an endless stream 24 hours a day. We grew so accustomed to the noise and the shaking of the house, which was only about 30 yards from the railroad tracks, that we went completely unaware of their passing, unless one stopped. Then the silence woke us up. These examples emphasize that when you are around negative, evil, or destructive environment long enough, you will go from objective to tolerance, from tolerance to acceptance, and from acceptance to participation, and even enjoyment. It makes no difference how little it was to start with, it will grow. That stand out to me because it reminds me of the times that I was in the hood or lived in the hood, and I've grown so accustomed to that environment that I love being in the hood. And it was just fun for me, just getting in trouble and not knowing what could happen, and being in love with the anticipation of danger, so to speak, because anything could happen when you're in the hood, you know what I mean? You could get into so much mischief. And I knew that I was caught up in this thing that Napoleon Hill called hypnotic rhythm. I spoke about it before. He expanded on it in the book called Think and Grow Rich. He talked about hypnotic rhythm. And I noticed that I was stuck in this particular rhythm of negative, toxic energy, because when I did go to suburban areas with my friends, I did go to nice places with associates of mine, I felt uncomfortable. If I went to a nice restaurant and I'm around a bunch of fancy white uppity people, I felt uncomfortable. If I went by a girlfriend and she lived in a nice area and I felt like they had more than I did, I felt uncomfortable. I felt comfortable being in the trenches. I felt comfortable being in the hood. I just felt safe there. And as strange as that may seem, I know some of y'all can relate. I felt safe in the hood. You know what I mean? The most unsafe place in the world, I felt safe being at. And I knew that at some point, I would have to change this way of thinking if I wanted to evolve. I didn't know how I was going to change it. I didn't know when I was going to change it, but I knew it had to change in order to evolve. You dig? I just love being in the ghetto. I love acting ghetto. And I know it's hard for you to really kind of picture that based on how you may see me now or how you may look at me now. But this is the God honest truth. You know, I used to do so much ghetto-fied shit, man. You know, living in the projects in Harlem, couldn't afford a toaster. So I would get one of the hangers from the closet, bend it up in a certain shape, put the bread on top of the hanger, put it on the stove, and that's how I would toast my bread. You know what I mean? That's some ghetto-fied shit, man. Leave in the I want y'all to let me know some ghetto-fied shit that you did in the past. Leave it in the comments. Something that was just completely unorthodox, that was straight ghetto, you know what I mean? That people wouldn't even expect you to be doing. But that's some of the ghetto-fied shit that I used to do. I would literally bend the hanger up, and it was a metal hanger, of course, bend it up, put it on the stove, put the heat on low heat, and I would put the bread, the white Wonder bread, on top of the hanger, and that's how I toast my bread, put some butter on it, put some jelly on it, and that was my breakfast. That's some ghetto-fied shit, man. But that's what I was accustomed to. Coming up in the hood, just being in that environment, you know, that ghetto shit I was in love with that shit, man. So, and it's similar to when somebody has a dog in their house and they haven't washed or bathed their dog in about 2 weeks and the dog starts to smell. But the person that lives with the dogs on a consistent basis, they don't smell the dog actually stinking. They get accustomed to the smell. And not until somebody comes from outside and goes into their house and tell them, hey, your house kind of smells like it reeks of dogs. That's when they start to realize, damn, I haven't bathed the dog in 2 weeks. Of course, the dog is starting to smell, but I've gotten so accustomed to the smell that I don't even smell it at all. And you might have to look and stop and look at yourself in the mirror and say, what are some of the things that I've gotten accustomed to? What are some of the bad traits and habits and ghettofied things that I do on a consistent basis that I got accustomed to? You know, did I get accustomed to hanging around toxic people? Did I get accustomed to this toxic relationship? Did I get accustomed to this toxic environment? Did I get accustomed to the stench of negative energy, of negative circumstances, of negative people, gossiping on the phone and getting accustomed to talking about other people and not talking about the future and evolving and growing? You know, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what did I get accustomed to? Did I get accustomed to doing the bare minimum? Just doing enough at my job not to get fired. Just doing enough in my relationship not to get dumped. You know what I mean? What are some of the things that you've gotten accustomed to that is not adding to your life in a positive way, that is not uplifting you? But you can't see it because you're accustomed to this energy, to this hypnotic rhythm of negativity. And you giving your spouse, or you giving your kids, or you giving your job, or you giving your career the bare minimum. And you can't see the picture because it's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. Shout out to Les Brown, because that's where I heard that from first. So we got to give credit where credit is due. Les Brown, one of the best motivational speakers that ever lived. We got to give him we got to give him props for the things that he contributed to the world. But yeah, you have to stop and sit down and do some self-reflecting and ask yourself, what have I gotten accustomed to? And make a conscious decision to actually change that. Because that's the only way it's going to change. If you want things in your life to change, you have to change things in your life. You dig? At some point, I wanted to get out of the hood. Like I said, I didn't know when, I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it was a goal of mine. So I had to change some of my ghettofied ways. I had to eventually buy a toaster. You dig? Yeah, I had to eventually buy a toaster, man. I couldn't keep toasting my bread on the stove with a hanger. I had to eventually stop neglecting myself of technology. You know, it's like a person that's still walking around with the BlackBerry phone. And we got all type of iPhones and Samsungs out there, but you still want to hold on to your BlackBerry phone or your sidekick. You know what I mean? You're depriving yourself of technology. You're depriving yourself of a life of opulence. You're depriving yourself of the success and the things in life that many people enjoy. You're depriving yourself of Wi-Fi. You know what I mean? For the people that live off, you know what I mean, off the grid. I know it's cool. I know you're enjoying yourself. I know you out there in the mountains meditating, but you are depriving yourself of life's technology. And if you utilize it for good, it can be a wonderful thing. But many of us utilize it for the wrong thing. So You know, we get the bad things of technology. We get the bad side of it. But if you utilize it for good, man, it's a beautiful thing to use technology for the betterment of your life, because you can find out so many things from the press of a button, right from that mobile phone. You can make millions of dollars from that mobile phone. You could transform your whole life in a second, or maybe not a second, but yeah, in a second, because all it takes is a decision. It takes an instant to make a decision. And in 1 second, you can transform your life, because you can do the research from your phone. And you can find out the information you need on how to create an LLC, how to trademark your business logo, you know what I mean? How to get a domain name and start up your website, how to go on Shopify and put your product on Shopify, even if it's one product. You can do that right now, today, and you can start selling a product today, and you can change your circumstances today. You don't have to wait a lifetime. You don't have to wait a month. You don't have to wait a year. You can do everything I just said in one day. But you have to make the decision to want to change your circumstances, to want to change your environment, to want to change your ghettofied ways, to want to change your behavior. You can make a decision today and get out that toxic relationship that ain't serving you, that is taking away from you, that have caused you to lose your identity. You are now in a relationship that have caused you to no longer identify with who you are. The relationship has consumed you so much, you don't even know who you are anymore. The things that you used to love doing, you don't do no more. Now you're doing everything that your partner loves doing. Everything that they do, you have picked up on their traits, to the point you no longer identify with the things that you used to love doing before you got into the relationship. Now, it's not a bad thing if that person is helping you to be a better version of yourself. Remember what I just said, a better version of yourself, not a better version of your partner, not a better version of someone else, but a better version of yourself. If that person is rubbing off on you in a positive way, where you picking up quality traits, reading more, sleeping on time, waking up earlier, going out to the gym, going to Starbucks and doing some research on a project that you're working on, putting your goals and your aspiration, you know what I mean, at the forefront of your life. If they're rubbing off on you in that particular way, then that's a great thing. That's a beautiful thing. But don't get so caught up into the relationship that you lose your identity and you start to pick up toxic traits that are not yours. It happens every day. It happens all the time. That's why people get caught up in this toxic chemistry, this toxic attraction. The person is no good for you. Y'all argue day and night. Y'all not working on no ideas. Y'all not facilitating and structuring something for y'all future. Y'all just fight and have sex. That's what y'all do. Y'all fight and have makeup sex. And you think that's compatibility. You think that's chemistry. You confusing chemistry with compatibility. And you caught up in a toxic attraction. And you can't see the picture because you in the frame. You know what I mean? So we have to be mindful of that. We have to not lose ourselves in these relationships. Remain who you are, stand firm, evolve and grow, and be a better version of yourself. Pick up positive quality traits from the person that you're with so you can have a better relationship with the person that you're involved with. But, like I said, so many of us have ghettofied ways that we've grown so accustomed to. Well, the new word is toxified ways, that we've grown accustomed to. And we love it, we love it. I know it, because I was in love with all the bullshit that I was doing, and there's so many people like me in the world that is so self-absorbed, so caught up in our own bullshit. We don't understand that we not only hurting other people, but more importantly, we hurting ourselves. And that's the last person you want to hurt, is yourself. Because it shows a lack of self-love, right? And that's the one thing that you want to always keep in the front of your mind, is self-love. You dig? Self-love. Because if you can love yourself, you can love your sister and you can love your brother. That's why it's so much of a disconnect between the black community, because there's a lack of self-love. And you can't love your brother or your sister if you don't love yourself. I was a victim of that. Not having self-love or enough self-love that I would conflict violence on another human being based on the stressful times or the stressful environment that I was going in, that I was living in, so to speak. And a lot of us lash out in a negative way like that. As soon as we get into a conflict, we're ready to take it from 0 to 100 and respond with violence because there's a lack of self-love. So you're going to treat your brother with the same self-love or the lack of love that you treat yourself. So you react with violence, respond with violence. Well, you can just brush it off and say, nah, homie, you got it. It's all good. Matter of fact, it's all God. You got it. You know what I mean? We ain't got to agree. We could agree to disagree, but I ain't going to get into no altercation or over the situation, because at the end of the day, I want from my brother what I want for myself, and that's peace, love, and tranquility. So you got it, homie. Good, you good. But a lot of times our ego get in the way and we commit a crime. Now we doing X amount of years in prison because lack of self-love. You dig? So we got to be aware of these things, man. There's so much that I could talk about. There's so much that I could touch on. But I just wanted to come out here in this beautiful Bahamas, AKA Pirate City, and give y'all some words of encouragement and just vibe, you dig? Just vibe. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to preach. I'm just trying to share some information that I've acquired throughout my years of living on this life, or living this life that I've been living. And we all have a story. We all have experiences that we can share, that somebody can learn from. So I just decided to share mine, because I believe that each one teach one, you dig? And when I grow, you grow. And I strongly believe in that. I strongly believe that the graveyard is filled with ideas. The graveyard is filled with experiences. The graveyard is filled with stories that was never told, books that was never written, movies that was never shot. The graveyard is filled with inventions that was never designed. All because someone didn't have the courage to actually move forward on their goals and their ideas and the things that they wanted to do. For whatever reason. Fear of success, fear of criticism, fear of failure. So many reasons that stops people from actually doing the things that they could be doing to help push humanity forward, because An invention wasn't created because somebody was fearful of being criticized or being judged or being looked at as crazy. But there's a method to the madness. There's a lot of beautiful things that was created out of somebody having a crazy idea. So what crazy idea that you got that you haven't worked on yet? What crazy idea that you got in your mind that you want to do, but nobody else can see it happening but you? Nobody else can see it for you but you. I'm here to tell you, man, start working on that idea ASAP, man. Don't wait on nobody. Start working on that idea ASAP. I had an idea to film my father for his birthday, 75th birthday, come out to the Bahamas, Pirate City, and film my father for 78th birthday and ask him questions about my family tree, about things that's on my mind between my mother and him. You know, questions that I have that went unanswered. Questions about my siblings and his lifestyle and how we lived as a teenager. And it was an idea that I had in my mind. And I wanted to do this idea badly. I don't know why it came in my mind, but it just came in my mind, you know, almost like a whisper. It was almost like a whisper. And I was supposed to be in the Bahamas on a Thursday, but I missed my flight. Then the lady at the counter allowed me to get another flight the next day, which is a Friday, and I missed that flight as well. The flight was leaving at 11:40 p.m. I missed that flight. I missed 2 flights in a row. His get-together was on a Saturday. You dig? So now, I gotta make this next flight. So, the funny thing about it, on that Friday, when I missed that flight, I went back to the crib, went on the phone because they couldn't give me another free flight. So I had to go on the phone, call Expedia, and rebook a new flight and spend more money. But it was my fault, so I didn't complain, right? So anyway, I said, God, I missed those flights for a reason. I don't know why I missed those flights, but I missed those flights for a reason. Now, mind you, the second flight that I missed, I made it 10 minutes before the cutoff time. And I begged the lady to open the plane door because I can see the plane. I can see it right there. So I begged the lady, please, open the plane door, let me get through. I got to see my father for his birthday. She was stone cold, not having it. She's like, nah, once the door's closed, we not opening it up. You dig? And mind you, I'm tired because I ran all the way to this motherfucking gate. And all of a sudden, I got there, the door's closed, I can't get on. I'm begging her, she say, nah, I can't let you on. I go back home, have my driver pick me up, I go back home, I'm laying in bed, I ask God, please, give me the sign on why I missed those flights, because I knew I missed them for a reason. I know it's my fault because I showed up late, but I know there's a bigger reason why I missed those flights. So while I'm booking my plane ticket, it hit me. I forgot my passport. Both times that I went to the airport, I went to the airport with just an ID and without a passport. Now, when you fly domestic, you can fly anywhere in the world domestic with an ID. But when you fly internationally, you need a passport. So, because I was moving so fast, I didn't understand, or I didn't even know that I forgot my ID. And while I was laying on bed rebooking my flight, it came to me. I forgot my passport. So even if I got on the plane Thursday and Friday, I would have not made my flight because, or matter of fact, let's rewind. I would have not made it to the Bahamas. I would have only made it to Florida because you can't get to the Bahamas without a passport. So my flight was from Las Vegas to Fort Lauderdale, and from Fort Lauderdale to Freeport, Bahamas. So I thank God, because if I'd make that flight and I took that plane all the way 4 hours and a half to Fort Lauderdale, I would have not made it to Freeport because I did not have a passport. And eventually I would have to fly all the way back to Las Vegas just to get my passport, then fly all the way back to Fort Lauderdale, and then from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Pirate City. I would have been pissed like a mother. Listen, man, I would have been so motherfucking pissed, man. Listen, man, I would have been livid. But like I said, God works in mysterious ways. He's always working for me and not against me. God is working for you and not against you. It's happening for you and not happening to hurt you. You know what I mean? It's not happening to hurt you. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. You dig? And I just had to sit down for a second and had to process what was going on. And I realized, oh shit, that's what was going on. It was happening for me. You dig? And I made that next flight. Once I got my passport, I made that flight on Saturday, got to Freeport on time, 1 p.m., 1:30 p.m. I was in Freeport, and we enjoyed the festivities. My father enjoyed his birthday, and we had a wonderful time. You dig? And now I'm out here enjoying the beautiful beaches and enjoying life, man. So I say that to say this, man. Take your time, slow down, relax, focus your thoughts, focus your mind, write down your ideas, your do's and don'ts, the things you gotta accomplish, things you gotta do. Making a decision to change some of your ways that is not benefiting you. Make a decision to move forward on that goal, that dream, that thing that you want to accomplish, and do it now. Do it now. And change some of the habits that you got that's not helping you to move forward, that's holding you back. Change your friends if you have to, change your environment if you have to, change your thought process if you have to. You're gonna have to do that, but make the change, all right? Anyway, I enjoyed this episode. Like I said, I'm going off the top of the dome. Wasn't planned, but my best episodes are the ones that ain't planned. You dig? If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're playing yourself. If you're not sharing this video on, or sharing this link on your Facebook or Instagram or wherever you can share it at, you're playing yourself. If you haven't liked this video, you're playing yourself. So make sure y'all like, subscribe, and y'all share. And don't forget, leave a comment below. Let me know one of those, what's the most ghetto thing that you used to do before you evolved and changed some of your ways. Or you might be still doing it right now. Either way, join the Mindset Mogul Book Club and join my Patreon for more exclusive content. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Cheers.